2 cadets were killed in Saturday's crash. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. Another close call on the runway.
The feds are investigating why 2 planes got dangerously close on a runway at New York's LaGuardia Airport earlier this month, despite the airport being equipped with an advanced surface radar system designed to help prevent such incidents. Both the FAA and the NTSB are investigating the May 6th incident. Rich Thomason, Washington.
And President Trump signing the Take It Down Act, which seeks to enact stricter penalties for the distribution of non-consensual intimate imagery, sometimes called revenge porn, online. The bill, supported by First Lady Melania Trump, was introduced by Senator Ted Cruz, a Republican from Texas, and Senator Amy Klobuchar, a Democrat from Minnesota, in 2018. It passed in the Senate in February and the House in April. More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
Vote for me and I'll set you free.
Freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. Come together right now over me.
Song means by now. That's right. It's time for another episode of America Matters here on Zacky Radio. I'm your host, Leo Zacky, with Joshua Matriciana and Shannon Lawson today. And, well, folks, we've got a lot to talk about. It's Tech Tuesday. So from fake faces to federal overreach to stolen crypto identities to your digital life being sold on the black market, today we're going to break down the technology that's reshaping your life, whether you know it or not. So today we've got 4 stories that cut across your privacy, your freedom, and your wallet. And before we jump into it, I wanted to just say a big hello, welcome, and thank you to everybody out there tuned in on 93.7 KPGF as well as AM 1060, and to all the folks out there listening on Radio for America, the Salem Network, the Answer Network, the Kevin Jackson Network, and of course AUN Television. Thank you to everybody out there tuned in, and also a big thank you to everybody on all those networks that help push this broadcast out to all of you so you get all this great content. So you can also watch the show on America Matters Media's Facebook page or LinkedIn page, or you can simply go to YouTube or Rumble and type in Zacky Radio and follow us there. Make sure you follow us, like, subscribe, and comment, and follow us on all the other social media platforms on Zacky Radio. We want to hear from you. So, Josh, let's jump into this first subject here. We're talking about this deep fake pornography that's now got a bold bipartisan law that was signed in the Rose Garden that aims to stop just that.
Yeah. So just yesterday, Trump had Melania sign this. Actually, she's been a champion for this repercussions, essentially, for people who are doing things like posting their ex-lovers or whatever they call it, revenge porn, among other things. So, we've got some other topics too going on here today. I'm pretty excited about this. I'm pretty excited about this this episode today. I mean, we're talking about how DC lawmakers, where they're trying to reshape and strip states of their power to regulate artificial intelligence, which is a pretty crazy thing, since they say that this bill they're trying to push won't happen for an entire decade. I mean, that's for 10 years. I mean, that's a lifetime when we're talking about AI.
Wow.
We're going on to Coinbase, where nearly 100,000 users were blindsided by a data breach. And then we come back and talk about the dark web economy, which where your stolen data becomes a currency. And that's so we got some really cool stuff coming up here.
Absolutely. So, it's not just about headlines. It's what happens when the tools meant to connect us start to exploit us. And, so let's start where it gets personal and terrifying. So let's say you wake up one morning, you grab your phone, and your whole world collapses. There's a video spreading like wildfire, and it's explicit. It's horrifying. And it looks like you, but you never filmed it. It's not real. It's a deep fake. And still, your boss doesn't know that. Your family doesn't know that. And in the court of public opinion, the truth is the first casualty. This isn't science fiction. It's growing fast. But this week, something happened that could finally shift the balance. And at the Rose Garden, with the nation watching, President Trump, joined with First Lady Melania, signed into law the Take It Down Act, the first federal effort to combat non-consensual AI-generated deep fake pornography and revenge porn. And today, we're going to unpack it. So, what's in this bill? Who does it protect? And what can you do if it ever happens to you or someone you love? So, tell us about the Take It Down Act there, Josh.
Well, it was signed yesterday, May 19th, 2025. The law makes it a federal crime to share or threaten to share intimate content, even if it's digitally faked without their consent. For the first time, AI deepfakes covered under federal privacy protections.
Wow. So for minors, it'll put them, you do it with minors, it's 3 years in prison. Oof. Adults, 2 years in fines. And the platforms, well, they're now legally required to remove flagged content within 48 hours. And it doesn't stop there. Social media companies must take proactive steps to prevent the content from being re-uploaded. And the FTC now has full authority to enforce these rules. So for the first time ever, the bill was symbolically co-signed by a first lady. And Melania did that under her Be Best initiative to protect children online. So,
let's talk about that real quick for a second. First of all, I really, you know me, I really don't like it when the government has kind of overarching control or the ability to fine you or put you in prison for something. However, again, we've kind of been struggling with this topic for a while. Like, where does the government's rule end, and where does encroaching personal liberties? But then, where should it be implemented for the safety, in this case, children, and anyone who is a victim to this? Because I don't know if you've ever known anyone who's experienced this, but having a leaked video, even especially if it was faked, can be devastating.
Oh my God, without question. I mean, like we mentioned before, like the court of public opinion, they don't know. And we've seen these deep fakes happen before. Like this was stuff we saw going on a couple of years ago. These deep fakes coming out, and people couldn't tell the difference.
No, yeah. And I mean, there's even been movies made about it. I mean, there was a comedy that was about, actually a real one getting shared, and they had to go on this, clumsy adventure to try to, unshare the video. But there's a real case that this has happened to someone just recently.
Yeah. And Ellison Berry, a 16-year-old that lives in Texas, and she was targeted. And I mean, it's pretty crazy to think that people are going to make this kind of stuff. I mean, after she got in a dispute with some classmates, her face was digitally placed onto graphic adult content and posted online and exploited on social media. She didn't sleep. She didn't eat. She changed schools. She battled depression. Until this week, there was no real way for her to fight back. And now with the Take It Down Act, Elliston and millions like her have the full force of the federal law on their side. So this is a really great thing. But, not everybody's celebrating. Groups like the Electronic Frontier Foundation warn that the law's language could be too vague and it's leading to censorship or platform overreach. And, will tech companies go too far to avoid liability? Will legitimate content get flagged and removed unfairly? Probably. But unfortunately, this is the world we're living in. But we're going to keep watching this. But here's the bottom line. For victims, this is a lifeline. And for predators, it's a warning. So this ain't just about politics. It's about people and privacy and about reclaiming control in an age of digital deception. And it starts by staying aware, staying informed, and holding platforms accountable, because deepfakes are not just a glitch in the system. They're a weapon. And for the first time, we have a shield. We're going to take our first break here in America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Joshua Matriciana and Shannon Lawson. We'll be right back.
At A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by A Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
In times of market volatility, it can be a good reminder to revisit your financial strategies to make sure they align with your goals. Call 775-674-2222 or visit nvretirementplanners.com. Advisory services are offered through Nevada Retirement Planners, an investment advisor in the state of Nevada. Any insurance products and services are offered through Nevada Senior Advisors. Nevada Retirement Planners are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency. Nevada Retirement Planners does not provide legal or tax advice.
Can you define the 4 different parts of Medicare? Do you have Medicare prescription drug gap coverage? At Nevada Senior Advisors, we will walk through the different parts of Medicare, including Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, Part D prescription drug plans to help you determine which option is right for you. Visit nvsenioradvisors.com, call 775-674-2223 to set up an appointment. Nevada Senior Advisors is not affiliated with or endorsed by the federal Medicare program or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we are back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Joshua Matriciana and Shannon Lawson today. And, we're just talking about the deep fakes. And how we're actually having victims have the ability to now fight back against this, and predators need to be watching out for being, pervs and jerks, because there's going to be real penalties now, and so it's nice to see that's happening. So we're going to move on to our next subject. Josh, why don't you lead us in with this?
Sure. I mean, since we're talking about deep fakes, the one thing that makes that actually happen is artificial intelligence, AI. It's coming everywhere. We can't escape it. It's literally encroaching in every single part of our lives. But some lawmakers have decided to put some regulations on that, and these even though it's run by some Republicans, the laws are pretty iffy and definitely need to be discussed a little bit.
Yeah. So an individual submits a job application and the resume is screened by an AI system, right? This is an example. One demonstrates, bias, and in response to such risks, some states have enacted laws to protect against algorithmic discrimination. Here we go. Another discriminating terminology. Great. However, a new federal proposal under consideration in Congress could nullify those protections. And the proposal backed by GOP lawmakers would prohibit all 50 states from regulating artificial intelligence until 2035. So Skynet's going to have 10 years of unfettered development. But this has triggered a national debate about governance in the AI era, specifically whether oversight could rest with individual states or be centralized at the federal level. And the outcome could have significant implications for civil rights, innovation, and the future of regulatory landscaping around AI technologies here in the United States.
This brings up a couple really interesting points that this debate is not going to subside anytime soon. I mean, first of all, should the states deal with it? Should the federal government do it? Like, we're already seeing entire countries like Germany and the UK put kind of widespread limitations on what can and can't be done. So that's part of the discussion. But what's inside this proposal gets pretty interesting. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about it?
Well, sure. I mean, well, the House Energy and Commerce Committee has released a Republican-led tax and spending bill, and hidden within this bill is a provision that would ban states from creating or enforcing any laws or regulations over AI models or automated decision systems for a full decade. So that's a long time. That might as well be 1,000 years in the digital space.
You're absolutely right.
With the way technology is rapidly advancing. So the proposal includes only narrow exemptions and would allow effectively to centralize all AI regulation at the federal level.
Oof. Centralized control is something that scares me.
Yeah, but AI is such a powerful tool. I mean, I don't know. Do we have states regulating nuclear stuff too? I mean, the federal government seems to be doing that. I mean, the states can decide if they want to have nuclear power plants there or not.
That's a really good point. It's a really good point. Yeah, because we're dealing with AI. You might as well put it on the same level as dangerous as nukes.
I would put it on the same level, if not more dangerous, because it could, Skynet. And I always keep referring back to Skynet, but I will always refer back to Skynet because, you prepare for the worst and you hope for the best. And Skynet is, to me, in Terminator, that's the worst, bro.
Here, yeah. To those who have been living under a rock, a governor a couple governors ago, he was the one who fought for Skynet, but then also fought against it, just depending on which side of the time the time warp he was on.
Right. Well, because they had to capture him, right? They captured him, like reprogrammed or something like that.
Yeah, but it's funny. It's funny that we're having this conversation, and he literally was the governor at one point,
which is also another sad fact, because he was only elected governor because everybody with half a brain cell said, I want to be able to say my governor is the governor.
Honored.
That's literally the only reason he won that election.
Hey, I voted for him because I wanted him to protect us against Skynet. That's the whole reason.
Yeah. See, when you start, but now it's for real.
Yeah.
Before it was like just a joke. Now we actually have a real Skynet problem that could happen.
Yeah.
So,
well, who's criticizing this proposal?
Well, a bunch of tech safety groups and civil rights advocates are for sure. One of them being Democrat Representative Jan Schakowsky has spoken out, and Schakowsky has called the move a giant grift to big tech, warning it could undermine consumer privacy, enable deepfake abuse, and prevent states from acting on AI bias and discrimination. So this stuff all matters because AI is, being used in hiring, in lending, in medical diagnostics, predictive policing, and more. Predictive policing is kind of crazy to think about. But with state level oversight, critics argue that consumers could be left vulnerable to unchecked algorithmic harms, kind of like we already are with social media, but that's a whole nother subject. So I love it. I love how there's always like, well, it doesn't matter over here, ignore it over here, focus it on over here. Federal regulation is still very slow moving. So this moratorium could effectively delay meaningful oversight at any level. Be like, hey, we've got these nukes, but we're just not going to do anything about it for a decade.
And guess what? These nukes might just wake up and decide that they're alive and think for themselves.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's really what we're going against here. I mean, you mentioned something, predictive policing. That's some minority report level stuff right there. That is chilling. But also it's on the table. And here's the thing that I think that this bill is trying to tackle, but again, in no elegant way. The fact that it was kind of just slipped under a spending bill and saying, for 10 like a blanket statement saying, for 10 years, there's going to be zero. That to me sounds crazy because like you said, 10 years is like a millennia. But
in the tech space, yeah.
Yeah, in the tech, especially when we're talking about AI, where you're talking about gains of 10 to 100 times, every year even. So in 10 years, that could be, hundreds of millions of billions of times, trillions of times more powerful than it is today.
Right. And I'm sure we'll have some more weird terminology that gets put into the dictionary, kind of like how selfie got put in there or whatever, or meme. I'm just saying, so a lot of things will happen in that time span. But the other thing too is I hate the fact that it's been stuffed in there as pork in a spending bill.
Yeah. It sounds like there was someone who was trying to be sneaky and they got caught. I'm like, oh,
Maybe
not
one
like
of
that.
the 435 congressmen.
Somebody's getting paid by someone in big tech. For
It wasn't
sure.
Thomas Massey though. Thomas Massey's a really good guy. He's the best congressman. Massey president 2028.
Well, the good guys stick together. One thing that you mentioned here with the predictive policing and the movies like Minority Report, the issue is that there might be an algorithm that goes against you where there's no human interaction, and you're literally at the whim of whatever code you've been flagged for a thing, and you haven't even done the crime yet, and you're already being imprisoned. You know what I mean?
It's like Black Mirror. It's an episode of Black Mirror. If you guys haven't watched Black Mirror, watch Black Mirror. It's on Netflix. I know Netflix woke company, blah, blah, blah. Watch Black Mirror. It'll give you some insight to some of these topics.
Terrifying. It's taking science fiction to the nth degree and saying, oh, and it's so close to reality. I mean, the future that we're talking about, nobody can predict it. Like we have no idea what the future is going to be. 1,000 years ago, you're inventing things like watering systems and how to, to farm better. Now we're talking about literally like time travel and going into multiple dimensions, and like it's sci-fi, man. That's what we're talking about. As much as you can imagine. Now, how do you assign leaders to govern and create legislation for stuff we don't even know is going to happen? That's crazy.
I know it's how do you figure out like what's going to happen and where is it going to go? What direction is going to go? I mean, that's why we have to have we got to have people that are not, just kind of influenced in any way for their own benefit, in a position where they can, do the right thing and make these decisions where it's like, no, this is very, kind of how like the Supreme Court's supposed to be, so to speak, because unfortunately they're very biased nowadays,
Short-term benefits to long-term issues. Who are some of the people that are or what are some of the institutions that are supporting this? Since we need to,
companies like Meta and Uber and JP Morgan Chase. So big megacorp I don't like. Uber, undecided on. JP Morgan Chase, evil bank megacorp, bad. So they're arguing that a patchwork of state laws could confuse innovation and increase compliance burdens and potentially chill AI development across industries. So, I mean, look, this ain't about bureaucracy. It's about, who gets to protect you from AI gone wrong, and if this passed, this proposal could delay important consumer protections for a decade. So I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but I don't know. I think this is nuclear kind of level stuff, as I mentioned earlier. So,
yeah. I mean, you've got big tech who wants just a single institution to govern all of it. They want kind of that condensed power which is the federal government. Although, as a libertarian leaning person, I kind of think that we need a little bit more granular control. But again, who knows?
I think we are definitely playing with fire with this stuff. So, here's the thing. AI isn't coming. It's here. And it's influencing your whole life, whether you know it or not. And this proposal could decide whether your local leaders can act to protect you or whether Silicon Valley gets 10 years of free reign. So, when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about crypto and what's going on inside this Coinbase breach. So, I'm Leo Zacky with Joshua Matriciana and Shannon Lawson. We'll be right back.
We're talking to Victor from Precision Diamonds. Victor, we have talked before about the fact that you started 27 years ago in Park Lane Mall in a little kiosk. You are now in your own building across the street from the convention center. You've had to do something right.
Well, as we like to think that hard work, you like to think that it does pay off, but you get lucky along the way. You worked hard, you pay attention, and you get yourself ready. So hopefully when the right opportunity comes up to buy a beautiful building like we just have, you triple your size, you cut your overhead by half, and now you know that you're more competitive than ever.
Plus, you've had a chance to use all of the things you learned from that little kiosk in Park Lane Mall.
Oh, man, along the way, I'll tell you, as far as writing that lease check every month, boy, there were times that it was really hard to do, so you learn from your landlords, and it was really great feeling to say goodbye to the landlord. This has allowed us to truly become your local jeweler, your personal shopper.
Thank you, Victor. Precision Diamonds, your local jeweler across from the convention center.
Have you been injured in an accident? Trust Adriana Guzman-Freilich at AGF Law, your local personal injury law firm in Reno. At AGF Law, we pride ourselves on being honest, hardworking, and ethical. Let's meet in person to understand your case and fight for your rights. Located near South Virginia and Plum, we're always ready to help. Don't navigate the aftermath of an accident alone. Call Adriana at 775-453-9595 or visit adrianalegal.com. Your recovery is our priority, and we're committed to getting you the justice you deserve.
Barbecue, the Butcher's Kitchen, would like to thank every customer for your loyalty and continued support through these challenging times. Call for takeout and delivery of rib tips, brisket, ahi, tuna, roasted veggies, and much more. Barbecue's open from 11 to 7, Monday through Saturday, and delivers hot food safe and healthy. Call 499-5855 for details. 499-5855 Barbecue, as featured on diners, drive-ins, and dives. Get real. Get into Barbecue Reno.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we're back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Joshua Matriciana and Shannon Lawson. And as I mentioned before we went to break, we're going to talk about what's going on here inside this Coinbase breach. The crypto market is under siege, my friends. And I'm a Coinbase user myself, so this is very important to know about. So imagine waking up to an email from your cryptocurrency exchange, not to announce a new coin listing, which you hear every day, but to tell you that your personal data has been compromised. Your name, your home address, and maybe even parts of your social security number are in the hands of cyber criminals. So that's not a plot from a dystopian thriller. It's what nearly 100,000 Coinbase customers faced just this month, May of 2025. So in this part of the episode, we're going to dive into one of the most consequential cyber attacks to hit the crypto world in recent memory. The largest US-based crypto exchange, Coinbase, was breached. But the story isn't just about data. It's about trust, money, and the growing war over digital assets. So, as I mentioned, this month, May of 2025, earlier this month, Coinbase disclosed that cyber criminals had gained unauthorized access to personal data belonging to about 97,000 customers. And the data that was compromised included names, email addresses, phone numbers, partial social security numbers, and even government-issued ID'd images. So no passwords or crypto funds were stolen, thankfully, but the sensitive data will still possess a serious risk to so many of those users. And apparently this all happened, according to the Wall Street Journal, that the breach began when foreign-based customer service agents were bribed by hackers, giving them a backdoor into internal systems. And Coinbase has since obviously fired those agents and is cooperating with the federal authorities. But the ransom, and response here that the hackers demanded $20 million to keep the data from going public. Well, Coinbase refused and instead set up a $20 million bounty fund for any information that leads to the arrest and prosecution of those responsible. So there's some financial fallout from all this. The estimated cost of the breach here is between $180 and $400 million. So that's what, 4,000 Bitcoin, right?
It's a lot. It's a lot of money. I mean, we're talking like legal fees, security overhauls. Like, where does that money go? Customer remediation efforts. I mean, Coinbase's stock, it's already fallen like over 7%.
Yeah. Which
But
is nothing compared to what it did after it IPO'd. That's a whole other story.
You know what? We gotta talk about something here real quick. Okay. So this is such a ballsy move. Like, I saw this thing a couple days ago. The founder of Coinbase, the guy who runs it, right? He actually goes, he's like, look, we're going to be totally transparent with what just happened. Some hackers bribed some of these guys. They've been fired, but they're trying to hold us hostage. And you know what? We're going to be totally transparent about this. We don't negotiate with terrorists, essentially, is what he said. And instead of paying them the $20 million in ransom, we're going to put a $20 million bounty on their heads. I think that's a ballsy move, and I applaud that. Although it is getting a lot of criticism by other people who don't think that that's necessarily the best move for them to do this.
Folks, that's about 200 Bitcoins. So just think about it like that. That's a lot. But let's step out of the headlines for a moment here and into the inbox of a customer. We'll call Rachel. And Rachel, let's say, she's a digital marketing consultant who uses Coinbase to manage small investments for her clients. And one morning, she gets a phishing email that looks convincingly like a Coinbase notification. The attacker uses her actual address and partial SSN details obtained from the breach to trick her into clicking a malicious link. But luckily, Rachel doesn't fall for it. However, many might. And the exposure of such detailed personal identifiable information opens the door to identity theft and fraud and targeted scams. And even though no wallets were drained during the attack, thankfully, the potential for long-term damage is very, very real. Even I have been getting some fake notifications from saying that they're Coinbase, like text messages, but that's all garbage. Always be leery of that. Don't trust it. Make sure, if you're not sure, just log into Coinbase on your own, see what's going on. But for Coinbase, this incident could have long-lasting consequences, not just in customer trust, but increased regulatory scrutiny. And the DOJ has opened an investigation, and other agencies are monitoring the company's response very closely.
This is a can of worms. We've talked about we've talked about bad people doing bad things in the past, but reason this is kind of important is okay, so it's just a phone number, or it's just your name, or it's just your address. I mean, our generation, we've kind of, that expectation of privacy has kind of dwindled down, I think, significantly. Like, our expectations of privacy are pretty minimal.
Well, yeah, a lot of people have given up on their privacy. That's for sure, Josh. I like to try and hold on to every little vestige of privacy I can. Like, I don't even want to like when you type in your credit card number or whatever, and it's like, oh, would you like this website to remember your credit card, or would you like this device to remember it? I'm like, no, absolutely not. I don't even click. It's not like yes or no. I just X out of the damn thing. Don't even give it a response.
Yeah, I mean, there are some steps that each individual can take. But before we talk about like the steps that you can take to kind of protect yourself, I mean, first of all, there's another kind of layer behind this. And what, you brought up was the perfect example of, somebody is kind of lured into clicking this malicious link or to giving up some private information. Look, this has happened to me. This almost this exact same scenario, except instead of an email, it was somebody who actually called me, and they spoofed my bank's phone number. So I got a call from what I thought was my bank, and they gave me all of this personal information about myself that I was like, oh, only the bank is going to know that. And then they said, hey, all we need is just, this other little piece of information. Me being and this is the first and only time I've ever been duped by something like this. But they had so much personal data that I got lured into it. And it took, eventually, like they ended up draining my bank account, and it got all the money back. It was a long and laborious issue, the whole thing. Thankfully, I was protected by the bank, but that's what we're talking about. So even with this data breach, they're asking for $20 million, and they're saying, go, go suck on a rock. We're not going to pay you $20 million. But why is that, an issue? Because the personally identifiable information in the wrong hands can absolutely lead to trickery. Like these people, they go in and they deceive you. That's the whole thing. That's the name of the game: deceit, and then they take everything that you have.
Yeah, it's really a shame how people are doing this criminal stuff. The worst part is it's not just an isolated issue to what America, because these digital crimes, these kinds of fraud, they're happening internationally from call centers and server farms and wherever, all around the world, whether they're here in the United States or somewhere in Europe or in India or Pakistan, which are always the most commonly referred to places for these sorts of things. But the problem is how do you really crack down on this stuff? Because it's up to those local areas to actually enforce on those criminals, because they're protected by the land barriers and thousands of miles in many cases. So
here's an interesting kind of analogy, I think, that kind of fits this situation. We live in the United States of America, and every country has borders and they have laws, and within that, essentially within your castle, if you'll call it like that, you're surrounded by these walls, essentially, where the bad guys are on the outside, the good guys are on the inside. You have an expectation of a certain amount of security that your government is there supposed to provide for you. Well, now we're talking about the digital world where you don't have those physical barriers to entry. It's all digital. And you've got these pirates, essentially, from any corner of the world, or even in your backyard. It doesn't matter. Physical location now kind of means nothing because it's all digital. What we're looking at now is just like, we need to be protected from the threats of foreign countries, from a militaristic standpoint. We also need to be protected from pirates trying to steal your, all of your digital data, your finance. I mean, now we know money is all digital, and that's what we're going to get into. Cryptocurrency is currency. It's a form. It's invisible, but it's a form of value. And most of our money, like how many people actually walk around with wads of cash?
I do.
I mean, you do. I do. I try to. It's nice to have cash, but most people don't. It's all on a credit card. It's all in a crypto wallet. It's invisible. That's what I'm getting at. So who's there to protect it? And what we're starting to realize more and more, it's not the government who's protecting us, but we got to protect ourselves. That's the point. We have to take our own steps to make sure that we're, doing the proper, the best practices.
Absolutely. Well, this breach is more than a news story. It's a wake-up call. And whether you're a crypto newbie or a seasoned trader, or even somebody just managing, affiliate partnerships for exchanges, the lesson is still the same. Digital security cannot be an afterthought. So what can you do? Check your account. Enable two-factor authentication. Preferably using like an app like Google has a two-factor app. Don't just rely on texting. But be vigilant. Don't just trust any email or text that comes in asking for sensitive information, even if they quote unquote know your information.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not sure, you can always just call whatever company that is from the number online and not from whatever number they provide you. And inquire about that. And if they say no, then obviously it's bogus. But you got to have you got to support accountability here. You got to push for higher standards in how tech companies protect user data. And if you've been affected, use Coinbase's customer support to ensure you're taking the right steps to protect yourself. And if you know something about this breach, Coinbase is offering that $20 million for credible tips. So that's 200 Bitcoin just about. It's not just the money. It's justice. So when we get back from our last break here on America Matters, we're going to move on to talking a little bit more about how your data in the digital black market can become currency. I'm Leo Zacky with Joshua Matriciana and Shannon Lawson. We'll be right back.
At A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by A Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
The Delta and Bonanza saloons in Virginia City are simply elegant. Imagine ascending the grand staircase and being surrounded by the Victorian elegance and grandeur of the historic banquet rooms. Original crystal chandeliers, mahogany bars, and oak dance floors highlight the eloquently appointed spaces. A truly romantic and unique setting for your wedding, banquets, or holiday parties. Detailed ceremony and menu planning ensures your special event is a memorable occasion. With just one call to Jesse at 775-847-0789, all of your arrangements will be handled by their experienced staff with your every expectation in mind, including cakes, flowers, photography, videography, music, and party amenities. Complete ceremony and reception packages are available, as well as their famous themed weddings. Since 1865, the Delta and Bonanza Saloon's guests have come from every state in the union. Now it's your turn. No event is too large or too small. Let the Delta and Bonanza Saloons plan your next incredible event. Call Jesse at 775-847-0789.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now back to the show.
All right, folks. We're back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Joshua Matriciana. Well, we've been talking a whole lot about stuff here on Tech Tuesday. It's might be a lot for y'all to wrap your mind around, but we got to let you know how the digital black market works and how your data is becoming currency. So what if I told you your identity was for sale right now for less than the price of a pizza? Not just your name, your address, your phone number, your passwords, bank logins, maybe even explicit photos, real or AI generated. Just saying. Sitting in some faceless hacker's download folder. Welcome to the dark web economy, where your privacy is profit. In this final segment of Tech Tuesday, we'll pull back the curtain on the underground market that fuels cybercrime, fraud, blackmail, and in some cases, even political manipulation. And here's the kicker. Whether we're talking about the Coinbase breach or deepfake abuse or unregulated AI, it all ends up here on the dark web. And it's not just a myth. It's a vast hidden layer of the internet, accessible with tools like Tor, where anonymity and rules and enforcement is very, very limited. This is where stolen data is bought and sold in bulk, fake identities and forged documents are available on demand. AI tools are used to clone voices, create resumes, and even forge medical records. And yes, deep fake porn is traded, viewed, and sold. A single hacked account with full PII, name, birthday, social security number, addresses, and email, well, they can fetch anywhere from $5 to $30. Bank logins, $100 to $1,000, depending on the balance. But access to verified Coinbase accounts with know your customer credentials, well, that's worth gold. And remember, Coinbase lost 97,000 customers' information earlier this month. And many of those entries are already circulating in the dark web marketplaces. So let's tie it all together. The Coinbase breach? Well, criminals now have a near complete ID profile of somebody. The data is being bundled and auctioned anonymously, and it fuels identity theft, phishing scams, and financial fraud. Deep fake porn? Well, many of these fake images are scraped from publicly available profiles. Faces are pulled from breached databases, sometimes even from hacked OnlyFans or Dropbox or Instagram accounts. And once created, these files circulate in the dark web channels. Some users even pay bounties to have custom fakes made. But there's an AI regulation blackout now, isn't there, Josh?
Mm.
Without state laws, AI-generated scams will explode. Right?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking AI voice impersonation, AI written phishing emails, deepfake blackmail. I mean, it's becoming cheaper, faster, and even harder to trace.
So where does all that output go? Well, back to the dark web, the digital pawn shop of stolen trust.
Yep.
So when you talk about having a moratorium for 10 years, with the way things are advancing and moving, it's pretty crazy to think about how dangerous that could actually be. I'm not a fan of that.
Mm-mm.
But,
no.
Josh, who's buying this stuff and why?
Well, look, it's not just hackers in hoodies. I mean, we're talking organized crime syndicates. They buy bulk data. They launder money. They bypass sanctions and fund, like other illegal activities, like putting hits on people. Other things like political operatives. They're seeking sensitive content on rivals for blackmail or even sabotage. And of course, scam artists. They use that information to impersonate customers, service representatives, bank agents, or even family members, which I've seen reports on where it's like, oh, grandpa, like it sounds like grandpa, or they're it's grandpa, but he's like, oh, it sounds like my great grandson. He doesn't know that they've cloned his grandson's voice in literally 30 seconds worth of audio. Ugh.
It's pretty crazy. And that there's a thriving marketplace for this. Verified social media accounts to run fake campaigns, health data for insurance fraud, student data for loan scams and test cheating services, and most disturbingly, revenge materials. This is the raw fuel that powers modern day digital warfare. And most of us don't even know we've been conscripted into it. It's pretty crazy to think about. So, Josh, how do we fight back?
Well, there's a lot of things that we can do. First of all, monitor your identity. I actually pay for a service that you spend like $100 a year or whatever, and they kind of monitor if anyone opens a new bank account in your name or something like that. I mean, that's probably the first thing that most people recommend you do, because they'll if your data is compromised, they'll change your password. They'll change your passwords, or they'll request you to change your password and freeze your credit cards, which is important.
Just a little.
Yeah. I mean, there's other things that you can do too. I mean, you could have. I mean, if you're dealing with like crypto wallets, having a hardware-based security is pretty important. That's like actually physically having a device where to access it, it's like a key. You actually have to have the physical device to plug into the computer to access it. That's
like a ledger, like a physical cold wallet.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which I have one of those, or a few of those.
You should at least one.
So, but yeah, I mean, look, passwords don't cut it, man. You got to limit your exposure. Don't overshare online. Your birthday, kids' names, pets. It's all used to crack security questions. I mean, come on. Those are the typical security questions, and people fill them out, but you post them online, right?
That's so funny that you bring this up, because I remember back pre-Facebook, actually even early Facebook days, like we're talking MySpace days, where there was all of these like polls, like, oh, put in your favorite color, put what's your pet's name, and you fill out this stuff and it gives you some kind of a nonsense thing that you can share with your friends. I realized it wasn't until way later that I realized that all of those people doing that for these free little polls, like, oh, which celebrity are you like? Which one of the Spice Girls or NSYNC is best, is you, or whatever. those were all ways of getting personal information.
Yeah.
All of them.
Crazy to think about.
And they were so widespread. It was like, oh yeah, I'm this member of Sex and the City or whatever.
Yeah. And
Right.
you'd post it on your MySpace page. I remember I had some dumb crap like that. Maybe not the Sex and the City girls one or the Spice Girls, but I remember messing around with that. That was days of innocence.
The crazy thing is that every single one of them were ploys to take it away. Nobody knew about it. They're just kids thinking it was a harmless poll. No. Where do you think that data is going? You think they're just asking those questions randomly? No. They're actually going into these insidious hackers, account. And years later, even they can still use that on you.
Yeah, but it told you were Miranda.
Exactly. Now that we know that, everything's okay.
Well, look, we got to push for more transparency here, folks. You got to call for stronger federal protections like the Take It Down Act and demand that AI tools be auditable and not opaque black boxes, okay? Because if our laws lag behind, the dark web ain't going to wait. It's that simple. It's a wild digital scary world out there, folks.
Yeah, when we were talking about the dark web, here's a couple really interesting facts. Okay, like you can download, a hacked credit card. You can get it for under $15. A stolen credit card, you can get for $5. And you usually buy these in bundles of 100. You can spend $5 for 100 credit card numbers, easy on the dark web. Verified credit cards cost anywhere from $20 to $200, depending on the credit card type. It's so cheap. That's what I'm getting at. You can spend a few $100 and you can literally have hundreds or even thousands of people's personal identifiable material.
And
That's
we're not
the thing.
incentivizing that anybody go and do this because this is also a crime.
Well, exactly. And the
So
fact
don't
that
do this, but this is what happens.
But I'm just saying it's how accessible your data can be. And that's why you have to be very cautious. Exactly what you were saying, Leo, is that you have to be careful with what information you put out there. Like, be very careful. Nothing is innocent. It's all out to get you.
No, you're right. 100%. So here's where we are, folks. Your data is worth more than you think. Okay, your face can be weaponized with a few lines of code, and your rights are being debated by lobbyists while criminals work overtime. So from Coinbase to Capitol Hill to hidden markets of the internet, these stories aren't separate. They're all intertwined. And until we secure our digital lives, the way we lock our doors, this economy, this black market, it's going to keep thriving. You're the product, but you can also be the firewall. Stay informed, stay skeptical, and remember, Tech Tuesday isn't just news. It's your digital survival guide.
That's right, man. You got to show us the way to keep ourselves protected.
Yeah. Look, don't sacrifice personal information for the illusion of convenience. It's that simple.
Yeah, and who cares if you're Miranda or not? or whatever TV show that you care about. You don't want to know. It's not worth trading off your first pet's name or your mother's maiden name.
Well, anyways, folks, I hope you guys enjoyed Tech Tuesday here with us on America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Josh Patriciano and Shannon Lawson. We'll see all of you tomorrow.